Well, sorry about that. I got a little bit too into the intro.
Into the sharing.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I gotta wait till. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, there he is.
I'm like, where's Mac?
Hey, Mac.
I'm here.
Oh my God, why do we hear echo?
Oh, that's me. It's my phone. My bad. You know I'm bad about that. I think that's it. Okay. Is it gone?
Hello?
Yeah, I hope it's not me. I don't want to be the blame for anything.
Yeah,
You
Mac.
get blamed for enough stuff, Mac. I'm not blaming you for anything.
There you go. There you go.
I do. I hear an echo though. Mac, do you want to come back out and come back in?
I can, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Do you hear it too, Jen?
Yeah. It might be because he has his volume turned up on. Man, I don't know.
Could be.
So is that better?
Hello?
I'm
Do you have your volume turned up? We need to get you some headphones, Mac.
I need to figure out how I can do this. How do I turn up my volume?
Turn it down, maybe.
So how about this?
Oh, that's much better.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, I still kind of hear some, but oh well. Well, anyway, welcome to another episode of Recap with Mac for the week of June 20th. Mac, we got some questions for you, okay? We need an update. We need an update about Ohio and California.
So in Ohio, this is confusing because when you look at what seems to be happening, it's not quite correct. And that is that on Monday, there is a hearing with JCAR, which is the Joint Committee on Agency Review that's done for regulations in the state of Ohio. And JCAR, the chairman apparently told the Board of Pharmacy that it is unlikely that there would be any acceptance of their proposal to ban kratom and the natural leaf kratom. And so the insertion of that agenda item is not what it appears to be on the paper, but rather it's going to be a discussion about the fact that the JCAR is not going to accept. And what we understand the Board of Pharmacy will do is pull back, tell them they're going to pull back, and they're going to what they call their the review. I've forgotten the exact term for it, but it's the review of businesses. So a common sense initiative. I'm sorry, that's what it is. So they have to go through that process. They're just going to, sort of pro forma do that. It's not going to be, as we understand it, a problem right now. We're going to watch it closely because there's one thing that's true is you can't trust these agencies. And the other thing that's happening there is the lawsuit against the Department of Agriculture was filed yesterday, I believe, maybe Thursday, and that is a follow-on to the initial litigation that we filed against the Board of Pharmacy, and from which we received an agreement that they were not going to, at the Board of Pharmacy, enforce under the 708 rule any ban on natural leaf kratom products. The definition of what a natural leaf kratom vegetative product is important, because in the agreement and in the I'll call it collateral legislation that was also filed by or the Global Kratom Coalition, they got the similar kind of thing. The judge has simply said that any product that was available on the market prior to the announcement of the rule, and then the judge listed out the various forms that, including beverages, are legal for sale. So that's from the Board of Pharmacy side of it. But the Department of Agriculture, during the trial, testified that they are relying entirely upon the FDA and Kratom webpage. And it was really interesting to see the back and forth with the Department of Agriculture representative. And by the way, this is important because they can't change their testimony. This was all under oath. And he said that's what they were doing. In fact, he referenced conversations with FDA people, staffers, about their board, Department of Agriculture position, which is all kratom's illegal unless it is sold in a clear plastic bag with no directions for use, because it can't be intended for consumption. So that litigation we filed, and we expect that it'll go through the regular process, but we're going to have, we might have depositions on this one. We didn't on the last one, but we're going to go for a TRO and then a permanent injunction. And it just from the initial testimony, I think we're in very good shape in the state of Ohio to move forward here. So I know it's very complicated when you look at some of this stuff that's going on, but I looked at it and I had to call the attorneys and say, what is up here? And had to be walked through it. So that's where we are. Ohio is what it is. State of California, very similar situation in that the Department of Public Health has determined that kratom is not legal for sale, again, based on the FDA and Kratom webpage. So that's our central problem. And that's replicated in a number of other states, including New Mexico, Michigan, Minnesota. And I think that you see numerous local governments are relying on that FDA and Kratom webpage. And even in Georgia, at the hearing this Tuesday, you heard it referenced by Andrew Kolodny, and trying to push that this is something that the FDA, the current FDA position is that kratom should not be sold because it's illegal. Now he as is in this situation completely wrong, because he just has got this bias against kratom that he's going to continue to prosecute. But we're ready for him. This is a guy who has a track record. He is locked and loaded. And here's just an example of the absurdity of you get an expert, a so-called expert, and you think that testimony is going to be something that can be relied upon in order to justify his conclusion that kratom is an opioid. The first thing he drags up is a 2014 textbook that obviously was the understanding of kratom was evolving. And I don't own that textbook. I've reached out to get a copy of it. I'm going to see if there isn't some clarifying language within the textbook, because Kolodny just showed a picture of it and of the title and tried to make it look like, this was the conclusion of the book. I don't know the answer to that, but I will know. But even if it does, that was in 2014. We know a lot more about metrogeny, about its impact, its pathway, its utilization. So we'll be ready for that. But then of course, Kolodny relied upon the statement made by Dr. Gottlieb, then FDA commissioner in 2016. And And then again, he talked about what happened in 2018 with the submission of the second recommendation for scheduling made by the FDA. That one was a full 8-factor analysis for permanent scheduling, and that's the one that Dr. Giroir hammered Gottlieb on. And after his evaluation, determined it wasn't true what he was saying, and yet Kolodny likes to trot this stuff out. For him to stand before that legislative body and performatively start to say how bad Kratom is, just so he establishes himself as this so-called expert, we're gonna be fighting hard against Andrew Kolodny, because he's set himself up just to have another gig where he can be, the so-called expert, and he'll be called in for consultations by governments to say, oh, should we ban this stuff? And then he'll be in court in product liability cases and that kind of things, or wrongful death cases.
It's funny he doesn't disclose any of his, where he gets paid through, but he sure did disclose how many congressional hearings and how many, representatives he's helped. Like, he was real open with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I asked him, who's paying you? He said, nobody's paying me. Well, how are you doing this? You come to Florida to the international conference. Obviously, it costs money to get there. Obviously, it costs money for the hotel room when you're there. Obviously, you have to eat while you're there. And the same thing happened in Washington, D.C. And now he's down in Georgia. Is he seriously going to try to sell the nonsense that he's doing this on his frequent flyer miles? I don't understand this. And yet that's what he wants to sort of say, nobody's paying me. He works for Brandeis University, and somebody in that research institution is taking grant money from someone in order to support the work he's doing. And we know from his history that he is just a shill for the Suboxone industry, and it appears he may be working very closely with the people in the substance abuse clinics and that kind of thing. So that's what he is, and he wants to parade around as an independent expert, and he acts all offended when you suggest, and I do, that he's highly biased. And he chastised me for saying, "What I want you to." I think I told you this last week, where he said that he was very offended that I said that he had been censored by 2 research publications that he had submitted. The bodies came back to him and said, "You've got to change the fact that you didn't disclose that you had expert witness funding," and he had to correct that. Now he said, "You've got to stop that because they didn't censor me in any way." I said, "Well, why did you make the correction? Who told you that? Did it just come to you in your sleep? Was that an epiphany?" I mean, this is okay, Andrew. You just thought about it and said, "Oh, maybe I should amend this." Clearly someone told him he had to do it, and he did, but he wants to now act as though that, you can't say that I was in any way censored by any research group. Fact is, he didn't disclose it when he should have, and he had to, for whatever reason, then had to amend his disclosure statement.
What I noticed in that Blue Ribbon Study Committee is, okay, he's in the epicenter of the lawsuits. You got Eli Cohen that's there, who works for Matt Wetherington. So I feel like Kolodny is going to be an expert witness for those attorneys right there.
Yeah, and I think that's correct. They will use whatever resource they can in order to, get these cases further along the path. The one thing that's hard for them, I think extremely hard for them, is that the facts don't help them, and they can get someone like Andrew Kolodny to be an expert to try to say, well, this is what this means, but it doesn't change. Look at one autopsy after another, and you see that there are huge defects in the conclusions that are drawn, and it's disgusting because we can talk about this more, but what happened with the Patty Wheeler case is astounding in terms of what we're now learning, as opposed to the conclusion that Patty Wheeler claims that the medical examiner in the state of Texas told her, which is not supported by the tox screen or the autopsy. I don't know how that medical examiner could have said any of the things that Patty Wheeler's saying were said, unless that medical examiner said those things prior to the tox screen being completed and available. And anything said up to that point. Here's the prime example. According to Patty Wheeler, the medical examiner said the cause of death was kratom, which Patty Wheeler described in another interview as being she knew it right away. And that it was because of massive amounts, according to Patty Wheeler, that the coroner said massive amounts of consumption of metrogeny. Well, where is it on the tox screen? If that's true, if you really believe that, so we're gonna issue the equivalent of a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request in Texas, to the medical examiner, asking her for what texts, communications with, documentation of this conclusion that there was massive amounts of metrogeny that were part of her conclusion that kratom caused this death. This makes no sense.
Okay, go ahead and read those pinned comments that you have, Jennifer, and then I will go to the other set of questions that I have.
The first one's from Gabrielle Mack. Could the recent controversy surrounding Senator Mullen and Botanic Tonics make the FDA more hesitant to update the kratom webpage, even if the changes are warranted due to concerns about optics?
Unfortunately, the answer is yes. I think that's true both for the FDA and the DEA. No one likes to be in the center of a storm, a PR storm, that's created by the actions that are described by newspapers. I mean, if you're in the middle of that, it's a mess. And so I think it will give pause both to the FDA and the DEA, unfortunately. But there's nothing we can do about it. The story's out. The description of the events that are covered by the story, they act like it's some, wow, people were paying money to get access. You know something? Just blank out the name and put in anybody's name on any major discussion over the past, 50 years, and you could have the same narrative. So I think fundamentally that's unfair. It was a sensationalized headline story. It was about, an attack by the New York Times on the Trump administration, acting as though the Trump administration is for sale. I can tell you that in my experience as a lobbyist, and I am a lobbyist, but I'm also an advocate in case Madeline's listening. But during the Obama administration, it was well known throughout Washington that if you wanted a meeting at the White House, you had to go through the Chicago Mafia. And the Chicago Mafia were the people that were controlling access to the White House. And there was a specific payment that had to be made in order to get in. And that was just well understood, well known, and everybody was doing it. And so, again, you could put different names in and you would have the same outcome. This is the way things work. And unfortunately, oftentimes, when you get access, you're able to pitch your story and you see where you are. I heard that Matt Schwerman from the 7OH community openly bragged at the Champ Show in Las Vegas that he had paid $500,000 to have a meeting with President Trump.
Wow.
So this is just, again, the way things work in Washington. And
that's not even to include the federal, the Florida legislatures, the Florida legislature.
Yeah, everywhere you go. So here's the most important thing, at least in my opinion, is we know this happens everywhere all the time. Money is the commerce of politics, the mother's milk of politics. Can a person like Secretary Kennedy, FDA Commissioner McCary, the DA administrator, can they make good public policy and sift through the arguments that have been made by these people that are in there, because of their political connections or their financial ties to various groups that can get them a meeting? Can they get through to the right issue, to the truth of the matter? And I have confidence they can. because every time you do something, there's a standard that's even more important than the New York Times sets, and that is the policy aligned with the federal law? And there's got to be a framework that they have to operate in. And so I think that, in my opinion, this is a little bit of a anti-Trump thing. It's a little bit of a firestorm that will blow away, and then we're going to get back down to what the real issues are with respect to natural kratom leaf versus 7-OH, and what the federal government policy ought to be. So I can tell you straight up, the FDA and Kratom webpage needs to be amended or taken down and substantially revised. I can tell you that the FDA's import alert needs to go away. I can tell you that the DEA's Kratom page needs to go away, and that we need to have a DEA action that classifies 7-OH and its follow-on products as Schedule 1 substances. That's the right policy. How close we get to that, we'll see. But I can tell you that we're making progress on all of those fronts. And I've been surprised at the energy of and willingness of people that are in very high positions to have discussions about these issues over the last couple of weeks.
So can you go over? Oh, go ahead.
Is the Ohio Board of Pharmacy serious about the other rule to ban metragine? Would JCAR stop them from establishing that separate rule based on what happened with the 7-OH rule?
I think that this is, again, as I mentioned earlier, they're pretty complicated, but JCAR has told the Board of Pharmacy they're not inclined to approve the natural kratom leaf metragine ban. And that, if that's true, that's going to be significant for us. But the JCAR committee can jawbone the Board of Pharmacy, but now the legislature is out until November, and now they'll come back in for some special sessions. And if there's some action by the Board of Pharmacy, then you'll see litigation. Obviously, we'll have to sue them again, or you're going to see the legislative leadership telling them, no, we're not doing this, and we'll call people back and we'll get it done. So there's some options available. The Board of Pharmacy is following the direction of the governor. The governor has to assess whether he has an appetite for this fight. There are more important things that I think he has to deal with, and whatever motivated him, the governor, to start this. And I think that in some part it was Mr. Gibbs coming in and talking about how his son died. And I think that as the truth emerges about some of the conclusions on these autopsy reports, that we'll be in a better place.
So we know that lawsuits, especially at this caliber, are not cheap. So if you guys can, please donate to the AKA protectkratom.org/donate, because this is not cheap.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Lawyers money, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so we know that you guys have collaborated with Moms for America. Now, there's some people in the community that are worried that the AKA consumer donations are going towards that cause. Can you
going
answer
towards
that?
moms?
Yeah, because you guys are collaborating with them, so they're thinking that, oh, you guys are going to start paying them to do advocacy work.
So the answer to that, we've not paid them a penny. The Moms for America has made a very important decision to actually advise from their platform that mothers should be very concerned about 7-OH, chemically manipulated opioid products. I think you're going to see a very strong position taken by Moms for America. I can tell you that the 7-OH community got in early with the Moms for America, and that's just smart on their part. They were able to persuade the C4 part of Moms for America to do some op-eds and some pro 7-OH things. Then something happened that was very important, and that was that suddenly the truth landed on Moms for America. And to the credit of the leader of Moms for America, she dug into it, started researching it, and found out that in her view, 7OH people were wrong. And they've now been told that they're wrong, and they will no longer have a relationship with Moms for America. When I spoke with the Moms for America people about this, because we knew that they had some relationship with the 7OH people, the passion that Kimberly, who leads that group, was amazing. And I think you're going to see some things coming out that'll just be fabulous. Now, will there be things that we collaborate on? We'll share, obviously spend money on it. Yes, we do things all the time with veterans groups. We do everything we can in order to get in front of policymakers on this. And I can tell you that the Moms for America has a substantial footprint in the public policy advocacy realm. And it was interesting. I was telling Kimberly, the head of the group, that I learned when I was working for Senator Hatch, that in the early days of my political career, one of the things that popped up in a survey that we did among women about how do you, and this is back in 1980, I think. How do women acquire their information about politics? And the thing that jumped out at me was shocking was at the bus stop. I said, what? Yeah, we talk at the bus stop and people share information, what they've heard, what they don't. That was really amazing to me. And for the next two election cycles, we focused on that.
Yeah.
On getting information in the hands of moms that would be influencers at the bus stop. Now, social media has taken that over. This is back in the day where there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't the kind of tools that are available for political advocacy, but that was a boots on the ground kind of operation, and really, really eye-opening to me to hear that. So, but now the Moms for America has taken their advocacy platform. They've really very sophisticated in the way that they communicate. It was very impressive. I had the chance yesterday to be on a video with them that they'll be putting out soon. And so I think it's going to be a great relationship because they are truly seeking the truth to protect kids. And that's something that we are passionate about as well.
I think the people in the Kratom community's concerns are based on, because political stuff, because their beliefs doesn't line up with their beliefs. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. If you have another big advocacy group that's willing to do this, put Kratom on the forefront, let's do it. So
I think you're absolutely right. In politics, sometimes you find yourself with very strange bedfellows. And the perfect example of that is when in 2016, when the DEA was at the behest of the FDA trying to schedule Kratom as a Schedule I substance. Think about who was there. On the House side, you had Matt Salmon, who was a very conservative member of the Freedom Caucus. I think he founded the Freedom Caucus in the House from Arizona. And then you had Mark Pocan, one of the most liberal progressive Democrats. And over on the Senate side, you had Bernie Sanders and Orrin Hatch. I mean, think about that.
Real issues should be bipartisan. You know what I mean? Like this affects people, no matter what color or whatever you vote for. Yeah, I mean, it's we should all come together and not have issues. So,
well, on this issue, absolutely, because this is truly an issue about patient and consumer and advocacy safety on products that are available to them, and the fact that we share with some people the similar belief about that framework is something that's truly we should cultivate, we should promote, we should work on it, and we're glad to have it.
I never even heard of that group until you guys did that email blast. And how the heck did you even come across them?
Listen, this is the secret sauce of politics. You develop relationships, and you'll see I call it a what the hell moment. you see someone advocating for 7OH and you think, what? And that was something that struck me is, what are you talking? How could a mother's group be advocating for 7OH? And what it took was the truth. That's all. And I didn't expect to be successful, because typically when someone gets, their feet in the ground on some position, but wow, I'll tell you, the leader of that group, when she dug in and she did her own research, and she came back, and I expected a little bit of a pushback, and I didn't get that. I agree.
Yeah, any sensible person can look at the facts on
Yeah.
7OH and yeah.
Sensible.
I really thought that Kimberly and I were standing at a bus stop and we're sharing information.
Holding up newspapers. That's what I remember seeing as a kid, is driving by the bus stops with my mom and dad, and there's people that are standing there with the newspapers.
Yeah.
I miss the smell of a newspaper. I really do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get to this other question. Let me go find it. Is it echoing really bad for you guys?
It's only not too bad. It's like only like an after thing, so it's not like interrupting when we're talking.
Yeah, I'm not here.
No, of course you're not. Okay, so how did the misinformation on kratom deaths get started?
So if I were going to drill down and find the cause of it, it started with the FDA when they wanted to justify their first attempt in order to schedule kratom. They came up with was it 33 deaths? I think there was their first number. They then went to 44. But in that 33 deaths, you saw 9 that were in Sweden. And those are the people that had ingested. 9 people died in 2009 in a 12-month period. That got the attention of every public health group in the world. You had some countries immediately that went and banned kratom in Europe, and the FDA got after it. Those 9 people ingested a kratom product that was adulterated with O-desmethyltramadol at a lethal dose. Had nothing to do with kratom. And yet there it is in the Federal Register notice for the scheduling of kratom. That's a big problem. So they started it, and then they went to 44 deaths. If you remember, we had a FOIA request for those 44 deaths and autopsies and the reports. And we got back 43. And of those, the 44th, we were told was not available because of HIPAA restrictions for privacy. Mm-hmm. And it was a reporter who called me and said, that 44th one you didn't get? I got it. And he said, I got it from a wholly different database at the FDA. And that's the famous one where the kid died of a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
And they called it a kratom death. That shows you how bad this whole thing is, and why and how it got started. And we had an analysis done by an independent forensic toxicologist of those 44, and it was characterized by that independent expert as being shoddy work by the FDA. You had a kid who drowned, and they called it kratom death, that kind of thing. So that's where we are. I think it started it, and now it's been repeated over and over again. And now you've got medical examiners and coroners who have gone to conferences and they've had sessions on kratom, and they hear about, it's potentially dangerous, might be addictive. And anytime it pops on a talk screen, bam, they say it's a kratom death. And I'm telling you that we're drawing a line in the sand, and as we showed, we're going to get very aggressive in exposing these so-called kratom deaths, looking at these autopsies and how important it is to get the facts and the truth, rather than listening to this one after another claims about kratom deaths that are caused by kratom alone. The FDA doesn't agree with that today. NIDA doesn't agree with that today. And yet you're seeing these medical examiners and coroners just willy-nilly making these ridiculous claims that it's a kratom death.
Yeah, I heard an interesting, somebody quoted yesterday. It was something like, there are no feelings.
So I can't tell if I've lost you guys.
Uh-oh.
Looks like you're a little bit frozen up.
Can you see us?
Can y'all see me?
We're good on our end.
Okay, because I was thinking it was me.
Are you there, Mac?
He might have to refresh.
You might need to go out and come back in.
So I'm going to wait and see if this restarts. I see Misty is just gradually kind of dropping off the side of the screen, but it's obviously frozen.
Okay, I'm going to remove him and then he can come back in.
Okay, I was thinking about it, but I didn't know if that was gonna.
Now he probably got problems with his Wi-Fi today.
I know. Hey,
you're doing good so far, Jen.
So what's the last thing you
can?
Oh no, he's frozen.
Are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay.
Your Wi-Fi is messing up, Mac.
Yeah, we heard you the whole time. I think we just froze for you for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that I heard someone quote yesterday, there are no feelings in the pursuit of truth. And, I thought that was interesting.
It's a great quote because I'll tell you, my personal position on this is that I do not doubt for a second that these family members believe that their son or daughter or spouse or friend died of kratom. They believe it, no question. I'm not doubting them, but I will tell you that we all ought to pursue the truth. Absolutely find the truth, right? And the way to do that is through good science, full investigations. And I get this question by on one of the, I think it was on LinkedIn, Kratom Eradicator or whatever. Is that Gibb from Ohio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, he essentially said, how can you question a medical examiner coroner's conclusions? How dare you? And that's the flaw. You look at what happened in Ohio when the mother calls me and said, the medical the coroner, I think in Ohio, is calling my son's death a kratom death. And the reason he's doing it is he saw a bag of kratom products on his nightstand when he did the investigation. And she said, I'm standing there in the bedroom of my son, and this guy tells me that kratom is going to be the cause of death just by the observation of a kratom product being available. And she said, I told him that my son was saved by kratom, that he suffered from addictions, that he was lost to me. And kratom brought him back into the life. He had a job, he had a girlfriend, he was socializing with people, he was functioning in society where before he was not. And the investigator said, because he was obviously impressed by this mother's impassioned plea, said, look, let's wait for the talk screen. Let's see what it says. And he said, that'll be 8 to 10 weeks. Then she said the next day, 10 a.m. in the morning, the chief pathologist from the coroner's office calls her and said, I'm calling this a kratom death. This is what happens. And when we sued them, then they changed it. And the excuse they landed on was, after review of more recent science publications, we've determined that was an inappropriate cause of death. So when Mr. Gibb asks me, how can you dare challenge a medical examiner, coroner? Well, that's why, because they make mistakes. And that was evidenced in the Centers for Disease Control in 2019, where they had the so-called 151 deaths that were kratom related, of which 92 were kratom was a significant causative factor. And then they said there were 7 that were kratom only. And even they missed the point of that CDC report. Lots of sensationalized headlines, but the CDC report actually said there are no standardized post-mortem investigative protocols, and there needs to be, because every state's all over the map, right? And then they said, and they referenced the fact that they could not say on kratom only that was truly the cause of the death. And they referenced a New England Journal of Medicine article examining in Colorado 15 deaths that were allegedly, by the reports of the medical examiners, that were caused by kratom, and that 4 of those 15 were kratom only. Now, we know that most of these deaths are polydrug, maybe underlying medical conditions, whatever. They're not kratom deaths. And they tested with more sophisticated equipment of the 3 of the 4 deaths where a blood sample was available. And they examined it with more sophisticated equipment that typically would not be in a medical examiner coroner's office. And they found all 3 were polydrug use. And these, this idea that we should just accept that because a medical examiner coroner says it's kratom. And that's why I have such a significant question with Patty Wheeler's story, because she has said over and over again on various podcasts and newscasts that it was kratom. In the Utah film, when she was interviewed by a reporter, he said, "Are you sure kratom?" She's 100%. And the coroner told me. Well, how's that possible if metrogene's not even quantifiable on the tox screen? Not even quantifiable. Now, here's another problem. Depending on, and this is very complicated, depending on how long between the death and the autopsy, where they draw the blood from in order to do the testing, whether it comes from the femoral vein or other parts of the body, there is a process called redistribution where you have pooling of various chemicals and changes in the concentration of chemicals that are in the bloodstream, and a lot of factors involved in that. So you may end up with an inflated number or a deflated number, one of the two. In the case of metrogene, they found that this redistribution, depending on where the blood is drawn, can give you a false report. So there's that issue that's complicating this as well. But in the Wheeler case, I don't think, nor does it appear, that the coroner or the medical examiner in Texas even had the tox screen when she assures Patty Wheeler, if Patty Wheeler is accurately describing it, that it was huge amounts of metrogene that led to the cause of the death. Patty Wheeler is the one who says on podcast, "Oh, we knew it was kratom because we found all these bottles of the product in his bathroom and in his car." Well, I'm sorry, that's not scientific.
Right.
It's something to be considered. Don't get me wrong, but then here's the key point: how much metrogene was in her son's system? It was not quantifiable. If he was taking massive amounts immediately prior to his death, then it would pop on the tox screen at significant amounts. But instead, you have a non-quantifiable amount of metrogene and 10 other drugs in his system. 10 that were quantifiable.
That right there just absolutely, that just blows my mind. And then it makes you wonder that all along, has there been an ulterior motive to make the documentary? Who got to Patty Wheeler? Where's the chain of command is what I want to know.
Well, this is my view, and it's only observational in the sense that in my discussions with her, I think she sincerely believes everything she says. I think that there's a little bit of grief that has amplified some of the things, but I think she does believe this. And I think that her connections, remember, her two twin sons had done when they were, I think, 11 or 12 years old, had done a world tour or something, and they already had experience in the Hollywood arena. And Mr. Rubino, whom I talked to along with Patty when they did this documentary, it was because of those Hollywood connections. And this is the most important thing. They told me repeatedly that this was not a hit job on kratom. This was not an effort to get kratom banned. This was an educational documentary that was geared towards calling for regulation of kratom. And Patty Wheeler herself has said it. If we just had good labeling, if we had responsible marketing, then she's fine with it. And age restrictions, fine. And all of a sudden, and by the way, the conversion was magnificent because she was on a podcast 4 days before she showed up in Utah. And on those 4 days, that 4 days prior, she was on a podcast saying, we're not trying to ban it. Mm-hmm. And something happened on the trip to Salt Lake City to sit on the floor of the Utah Senate with Mike McKell, Senator Mike McKell. And I've described this in some detail. I know that I have lost my spot on his Christmas card list. But this is a guy who by, and I said this in the video, that one of his colleagues said, this guy's such a media hound, he'll climb to the top of Mount Everest and kiss I know, yeah, if he thought a news camera was there. And by the way, I didn't say this, but the guy actually, the person I talked to, said he would climb up there in his boxer shorts to get to the top of Everest.
So he's a media whore.
He is, and so, but here's what happens suddenly, and this is what appears to be the case. Patty Wheeler's sitting on the floor of the Utah State Senate, and that's it's a significant event. Doesn't happen all day, every day, right? You get invited to sit there while they're in session. You get the Senator McKell asks the Senate president for personal privilege, introduces her, advertises the fact they're going down to have this documentary viewing, and invites everybody. And she's sitting there preening, and then she gets all the attention of the reporters, and she's able to say, this is she's 100% sure it's kratom, and then she says, and it has to be banned. And then she's out in Michigan doing the same thing. That conversion tells you that something's wrong here, because she didn't say that before for 4 years while she's doing this. So that documentary was not intended, nor would it have the content, because I wouldn't have participated if it truly was to be a ban, as she's saying now. I don't think some of the scientists would have participated, because it is in that context biased. And so unfortunate that, and maybe it's as simple as this, maybe going back to the money issue, maybe she can't sell the documentary as just an educational film that's designed to help get more regulation on kratom. She wants to sensationalize kratom kills, and therefore you have to ban it. And I think that might be behind it, because she's not able to sell the documentary as she has described and hoped to with Netflix. And now they've passed on it. So now she's looking for an alternative national streaming service. So it might be just that simple.
I haven't even seen it.
I'm sure there's a lot of camaraderie on that side of the fence too, that kind of, makes her feel like banning is a better option.
I think lawsuits.
Well,
that's what I think.
No, think about who they are now all affiliated with.
Yep.
You've got Mike McKell, who claims to have gone around the country and talked to people in Rhode Island and talked to people in Louisiana and talked to people in Connecticut. I mean, he's very active. He's reaching out to fellow legislators. This is a guy, by the way, who on the Rhode Island situation stated on the floor of the Utah Senate and said, I've talked to the people in Rhode Island, and all of the executive branch agencies were opposed to the bill that got passed that lifted the ban. That's what he said. Now, I'm stunned when I heard that. And then he said the reason that Rhode Island did it is because Kurt Bramble, former Utah State Senator, who had helped us get the Kratom Consumer Protection Act enacted, that he was a friend with Representative Brian Patrick Kennedy in the state of Rhode Island. And that's why all this, friendships and people trading favors, and suddenly that's it. Now, Representative Kennedy sent a letter to the Senate president and told him everything that McKell had said was untrue. And no reaction to that, unfortunately. But I can tell you that when the governor in Rhode Island vetoed our first bill that would have lifted the ban, I spent 9 months in intense negotiations, repeated visits to Providence, sitting down with the executive branch agencies in the Rhode Island government. At the end of the day, all of them approved the bill. All of them. They had input on it. There are things in there that I don't like, but we live with because they're concessions. And then you have this, and I'll just say that, a political shyster who's looking for a camera that wants to say, oh, well, that in Rhode Island, all the executive branch agencies were against it. Not true. But, Senator McKell doesn't have a very good relationship with the truth, wouldn't recognize it if he saw it. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. And now you've got Patty Wheeler, who's on that media tour with, Senator McKell, and aligned with Dean Francis. And of course, I'm even surprised that the three of us are talking here today, because Dean Francis has predicted, I don't know, about 10 times the complete demise of the kratom industry, kratom consumers.
The kratom jigsaw, like Saw, the movie. The movie TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, he truly is that carnival barker. Come on, give your 10 cents and see the man with two nuts. I mean, give me a break. I mean, this guy, it's one thing after another. And it's interesting because, and I know he feels passionately about this, as does Patty Wheeler. And when they had their showing in Virginia, in Richmond, I'm sure that they fed on each other in terms of this story. I mean, in this case, of course, Dean Francis's son was just addicted to, according to Dean, to kratom, natural leaf kratom. Had nothing to do with 7-OH, so you can't blame 7-OH, and he's always kind of harping on me about that. You're trying to shift attention away from the dangers of natural leaf, and yet we can't get any good answers about, well, tell us the exact circumstances. That's surprising to me. Now, interestingly, I made the invitation to Dean Francis to go on to have a live session. We could do it in Richmond, and you pick the moderator, and people can ask whatever they want. And he said no. His newly hired executive director of End Kratom Addiction, Miss Teslick, she respectfully declined. And initially, Cameron, the son, declined. But yesterday, he reached out to me and said, "Okay, I'm willing to do this." And we're trading phone calls now to see when we can work out that deal.
Is Mikkel going to mediate?
Well, no, that's a great idea. I told him to be the moderator. But I was hoping he would, at least from my perspective in Virginia, they had Representative Cole leading this battle for them. I welcome Representative Cole. I think he's a good guy. I think he would be fair-minded about this. I mean, even though he has obviously been given the information from Dean,
he's been tainted.
Yeah, I don't care. I think the truth can survive that kind of thing. And I think Mikkel is not the same as Representative Cole. Mikkel is he's just a media hound, but I'd love to have him there, because that would become a real interesting discussion about, why did you lie to the committee in the legislature and then not correct it?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you stand up to the caucus on the Senate and say to everyone in that caucus, the bill that I'm asking you to pass is a compromise negotiated with the industry? Well, when you say the words negotiated with the industry, there has to be another party sitting out there somewhere. And I was there in Utah when all this was going on, and there was no negotiation, none. He being Senator Mikkel, refused to talk to us. So how does the negotiation happen except maybe in his mind? And then he reported falsely to his colleagues that they should vote for this because it was a grand compromise, which it was not. So anyway.
The negotiation happened while he was staring in the mirror, was talking to himself. That's when it happened, Mac.
I wonder if he has a camera in his house that he talks to.
Maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did you have some more questions, Misty?
I do have more questions, but I did see about the whole, the 7-OHers are saying the AB 1088 is dead in California. Can you elaborate on that before I ask these other questions?
I can. AB 1088 is dead. The reason it's dead is that the chair of the Senate Health Committee wanted to amend it and say that ban everything. And her view was to follow the Department of Public Health's position on it. And so the sponsor of the bill, despite her best efforts to negotiate, both of them, by the way, the sponsor of the bill, Dr. Bain, and the chair of the Senate committee are doctors. They just have different perspectives on this. And so AB 1088, even though it passed unanimously in the House, the Senate health chair was going to amend it to say ban everything. So it got pulled and therefore was not available for a vote. We're going to have to go back next year, and hopefully we will have made progress at the federal level with the FDA and Kratom webpage, and we'll be able to correct that.
Okay, so it's not over.
Not
the fat
over.
lady hasn't sang yet.
But not by a long
time. Okay. Kratom danger awareness is fiercely criticizing the AKA for publicly showing autopsy and toxicology reports you claim do not support the cause of death claims. Do they have a point?
They would. I think that, this is a delicate issue. It's sensitive. We have to respect the fact that these are very private issues. And the only ones that I'm going to be involved in are those that have decided to show up at legislative hearing after legislative hearing and use that death as an example of why the legislature should take some action. They've weaponized their grief. They've converted it from being just that personal issue. And I think that at that point, we have a right to examine whether or not the decisions made by the medical examiners or coroners were done correctly. And those are fair questions to be asked if you want a legislature or a local government agency to ban a product that would have impact on accessibility of an otherwise safe product, but for whatever the circumstances were that were involved in those deaths. It's fair game. And we are not going to take this, oh, how dare you kind of attitude that has been expressed by Patty Wheeler and her ilk, saying, this is such a terrible invasion of privacy for people that have lost a loved one. I'm sensitive to that, but if you want to have that private grief, take it to private and believe whatever you want. But now all we're examining is whether the information that's been provided backing up the claims made by these kratom danger awareness people and others are correct. And best example in Montana, I heard one of the grieving mothers say, "We just want to be heard." Well, I want you to be heard, but I want the truth to be heard. And I want to make sure that when we get to the bottom line, that the decision made by the medical examiners, as they did in Sweden, 9 deaths were wrong. As they did in the 44 deaths, reported by the FDA, they were wrong. And we have now been able to demonstrate that I think we're on the path to demonstrating that Patty Wheeler's conclusion was wrong based on the public record. We've seen it already in Ohio. Tennessee. You talk about a travesty, absolute travesty, and the real harm comes from what Patty Wheeler herself said. She said in a podcast, she goes, "I know there are people that have benefited from the use of kratom. I do not want to take that away from them. I just want to regulate it." And in Tennessee, there were people who were benefiting from kratom. And now Patty Wheeler's leading the charge to say we should ban it. There's something wrong with that picture. And so, sorry, we're not going to be cowed simply because you want to shame us for disclosing information that is public. We're not doing anything inappropriate here. It's public documents, and we're going to examine closely the claims made by those people that say it was kratom only that killed my child, my spouse, whatever. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
We all want the truth.
Yeah.
All of us, and why would you not be open to that? Why would you not want to? If I truly thought that was the case with, my loved one, I would be, they do send it out to everybody and they do post it up on social media and journalists but if you're doing all that, it's fair game. Mm-hmm. But I would be more than willing to give information.
Absolutely. And, I'll tell you an interesting thing. In our family, I lost my youngest brother, and he had a back problem. He went in, he just refused to go for treatment. And when he finally went into the doctor, it was probably something that had progressed where he shouldn't have allowed to get that far. But he ended up with having an infusion in his back and a pain medication. And then he was supposed to go back, and he was invincible. He didn't need to go back, and he ended up with sepsis from the infection from that infusion site, and he died. Oh. There's only one description for that, and that was the conduct of my brother. And we grieve him. We loved him and love him still, but that was just bad behavior. And there's some element of that in each one of each one of these cases we should look at. What was the behavior of the decedent, in terms of their substance use or other kinds of activities they were engaged in. And that's as painful as that is for a family member. Look, I get it. I would love, and I know everyone would love to say, this was all this thing. This was kratom, right? The truth really is far more complicated, as the Floridian article pointed out in the Patty Wheeler case. They did it. It was a fabulous accounting.
Yeah.
where the facts don't align with what's claimed in that case. And I think that some of this is personal responsibility, and we don't want to admit that our kids, and I have 6 children, 17 grandchildren, and I have one son that I knew that when he was talking to me, and his lips were moving, he was lying. It was just the way he did business with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always tension. His mother was far more susceptible to his nonsense, and we had repeated examples. This was a behavioral issue, and when we adopted him, his mother, his birth mother, was an alcoholic, and he had the fetal, what they call it, fetal alcohol syndrome, and so he suffered all through his life. Has so far suffered all through his life. Beautiful kid, kind-hearted, but just has trouble with behaviors, and so that's the problem here. I think that there are some families that say, I don't want to admit that my son or daughter was addicted to something else or was down buying junk on the corner. We want to blame Kratom, and it's become the convenient tar baby, unfortunately, for some of these families. And hey, we just want the truth. You can complain. I get it. But nobody is going to be exposed to this scrutiny that hasn't stepped up and made the claim that Kratom was responsible for the death.
Yeah.
We have a right then to examine the context of that and the evidence and data behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You put it out here publicly, we are going to question you. And you could call me a bully all you want. You could call me a fool. I don't care. You already publicly talked about it. I am going to question you. I'm going to ask those 50 questions. Yeah. Okay. So last question. I know you have to go pretty soon. You're doing a series of videos as part of the End Kratom Misinformation Education Campaign. What has been the reaction?
Well, three groups have reacted to me. One is our friends in the Kratom community, because they love it. They think it's important to get accurate information out there, and we encourage people to reshare it, repost it, drive people to the site, because we think it's an important step forward. And it was derived from my frustration in hearing from people that should know better, and so we wanted to have a resource to go back. Second group are those people that are just plain ticked off, that they don't like what I'm doing, and they think it's unfair, and that I'm twisting things, and I can tell you that there are a couple of people that, not surprisingly, don't like it. Andrew Kolodny doesn't like it. Doesn't like what I said about him. I haven't heard from Mike McKell yet. Maybe if I tell him I have a camera, he'll show up. Yeah. But for people that are allied with him, that aren't happy about it. And then, interestingly, there's some news people that have somehow found out about it, and they're calling me, asking me if I'll do interviews with them. And so that's a good positive outcome. So that's good. I got one criticism that they're too long, and that's fair. I think that maybe
they're too long.
Put it on 2 times speed.
Exactly.
Because I mean, there's a lot of you have to really go into detail, and I think it's educational.
So one person said that to me, and I said, well, I know a person that can cut them up into sound bites, and you can see a shorter version of broken up into pieces. I still might know a person like that, and so we'll see.
I mean, we could do that if you want me to.
That's who I was talking about.
Oh. It didn't take us.
Okay. That's what because we've been doing the Opus Clips things, and I love that program. I absolutely love it. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I could obviously rely upon the Kratom gals to do it, because they, chop up things, and I could wait for them, but I think I might be waiting a long time. I'm not sure.
Do you want us to Opus Clip it up? Because I mean, the only thing we've done is we posted the full video. We just added captions to it.
Yeah, that's great, and you're invited to chop it up into bits that would,
okay.
The consumption of this social media stuff, better than me, is great. I mean, you get, people like to consume it in shorter versions. I welcome you doing it.
Okay. So, all right. The new Wired article is promoting For Us. That was a good article. Do you remember reading that, Mac?
I do. I do. I thought it was an excellent article. Um, and it's interesting for that article. And then I think I started counting, and I was up to like 14 interviews in the last 5 days. And
Nice.
just listening to the questions, they're vastly different than they were 6 months ago. I think there's at least an awareness now by some of these reporters that there's two sides to the story. Uh, I got contacted by 60 Minutes. They're doing a story, and I think that that's going to be, that's going to be a challenge because they're going to look for the sensationalized headline. Nothing sensational about saying, hey, we want to regulate and protect people. A lot of sensationalism about, oh, people died from it. And that's where we're going to focus on what's the truth of that. And I don't think 60 Minutes wants to get on the side of some grieving parent that is just slinging nonsense because they feel that, not that they know it, not that they can back it up with evidence. They just feel like their son or daughter died of kratom. I mean, I when I talked to the reporter, I was stunned at the misinformation. But they're open, and there's going to be a lot of discussion before they get to the story.
So if you're going to be on there, they have to have an opposite, right? So I wonder if this is Kolodny's. I wonder if Kolodny's going to be on it.
Well, I'm the opposite. They've already interviewed Wheeler and a group of other mother. I think they did Wendy, or they're going to. So they came to me because they're trying to balance the story.
Yeah, that's like, with all this Tennessee stuff, it's like they try to balance the story, but it's not really balanced. You know what I mean? It's like all of it. So yeah, I get it. But
so I mean, I could be completely wrong, and probably will be when you're talking to the press. It's difficult, but just in the early conversations with them, I think they truly are interested in hearing an alternative viewpoint. They ask for who the experts that I would recommend. Obviously, they're going to make their own decisions. This might be a great platform for us. We'll see, but certainly we're going to get the message out. There are two sides to this story, and accepting the narrative that's being promoted by grieving parents that don't back up with accurate information about their autopsies or tox screens. That's going to be the focus, I think, from our perspective.
Did they do you in person, or was it just a phone interview?
These are preliminary discussions. We haven't gotten into much detail at all yet. I don't think this is something you're going to see in the next couple of weeks. It won't be. I think they're looking sometime this fall. So they're just ramping up for doing some research on it.
You know what I could picture is like, okay, you know how like if they're covering a trial and they have all the jurors sitting up on stools, like I wonder if they're going to have all the KDA moms sitting on stools right there.
Who knows? I mean, this will be a very interesting thing to watch play out because it's a national stage story. Not the first one that's been done about kratom, but this would be a high profile. So we'll see, and we will encourage them to look closely at all of this, and we'll provide the evidence and data that they need to make their decision. And like I say, I think that the initial outreach was great, and the discussions, and so I think they're being fair about it, and we'll see how that plays out.
Man, I know we're gonna have to deal with the aftermath. Oh well. I never take my advocacy gloves off, so you know what? Go right ahead. I might take a break, a day or two from advocacy, but other than that, no, I'm always going to advocate.
Yeah, I think I was on a plane last night, and the guy asked me, what do you do? And I said I work for the American Kratom Association, and he said, I've heard about that kratom. That's really bad stuff, isn't it? And so I was able to educate him about this because that's what's out there, right? You get some of these, views of it, and so we have a fight that we are obviously going to engage. It's not personal. It's about the facts. It's about evidence and data. We can disagree, by the way. I get that. We can disagree about, various issues that are open for the disagreement. I love it too. But this ought to be about a careful examination of what's real, not made up, and it's like the Attorney General of Georgia, when he put out his social media post a couple of days before the hearing, and he said that there's a difference between the natural kratom and the fake kratom, and that's a pretty good distinction. And I think there's a difference between reports about kratom's so-called safety issues and the fake people that are promoting it. And I think the conundrum, nothing could be better than the truth landing right on top of all of this narrative about kratom being dangerous, when you see that the NIH announcing their investigational new drug application for purified metrogenine, that could not happen. Could not, but for a thorough examination of the safety of kratom. So where does that leave all these people that are saying, oh, kratom's dangerous, it's killing people? There's no way NIH would approve a study on purified metrogenine, not just regular.
That's like saying they're open. If it was that dangerous, they'd be openly poisoning people.
Right.
And so that's important. And I think the second most important takeaway is what their objective is, to look at its value as a therapeutic agent in order to help people with opioid use disorder. And you think about that. You think about the people that are dying from opioid abuse right now, and the fact that kratom can be their pathway off of that is a fabulous thing. And we should be, we should be doing that. And instead of castigating it and trying to ban it and all of that, there is no way that the NIH study would go forward if this were scheduled. And that's what they want. That's what the anti-kratom forces want. Complicated, right? You got some guys in the anti-kratom community that are looking for a payday, Andrew Kolodny. You've got some people in the anti-kratom community who are looking for attention, Mike McKell and his group, and some of the other, Patty Wheeler with the documentary. There's some attention seeking there, and certainly Dean Francis. And then you've got some people some groups in the anti-kratom community that are sincere in their belief that kratom is dangerous and kills people, and they're the ones who are probably likely to be most resistant to finding out the truth of it, because it doesn't feel good, and I sympathize with them. I mean, that's part of the thing. I do not care about the other two groups, because they're just in it for their whatever the economic value or the PR value is for them personally. But I do sincerely care about people that are in this very tight situation in a box where they believe it, and that belief is being challenged by the American Kratom Association. How dare they? I understand the reaction, but we need to find the truth, because as the Floridian article said, and it's important, that the impact on millions of people that safely use and consume kratom is significant. And that's what Patty Wheeler said too. So I think that's where we ought to be. Let's make sure that we regulate it, that we find the appropriate regulatory framework, and let's move forward.
I agree.
So do I.
Okay. Are you good or?
I have to run.
I
appreciate the opportunity. I'm a little over time, but I've got some family things I've got to take care of. But
well, have fun. Happy Father's Day also.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
You're our kratom father, so happy.
There you go. And to all those out there, listeners that are fathers, happy Father's Day to them too. This is nice to be recognized one day of the year, because Monday it'll be gone, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jen, let's stay on and let's play his latest in kratom misinformation video.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Okay, bye, Mac. Okay, let me go grab it. If you guys haven't seen it, we're going to show it.
All right, I have to go pee. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll go pee when you come back. Oh, let's see. Yeah, because, Mac is doing his research. Let me tell you. He's doing the damn thing. And y'all need to be sharing these videos out. Get them out there. Get it. We need more exposure. Because he's doing it. Freaking commercials playing in my ear. Hold on. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna play Mac's newest episode, his Kratom misinformation campaign that he's got going on. This one is episode 3. It's about the autopsies. Yeah, he's the god. He's the father of Kratom. Okay. Hey, Jeff, what's going on?
Okay, feel much better.
Yeah, and it's not echoing on either side, so I don't know. We hadn't had any technical difficulties in a while, like, with the audio feedback or whatever, but I think that's what happened with when Mac joined. Can you see Mac wearing headphones?
No.
I can't either.
Yeah, that Carnival Barker song, or Carnival of Lies.
Yeah, Carnival of Lies. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I call him, our Kratom dad.
Yeah. She got him as Mac Daddy on our intro.
Yeah, I like that we started doing this because it does give us kind of like a recap, so we don't have to wait for the monthly webinars.
Oh, that's what I should have asked him, was when are you going to do the June webinar? Did he do it June? I don't remember. I was out in DC. Nope, he didn't do one, huh?
No, I don't think so. Really? Oh, never mind.
Okay. The Karen that's in the comments.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Like, really?
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go start this, and then so you guys can see. You're welcome, Gabriella.
Bye, Gabriella. Have fun with the kiddos.
What's up, Tracy? Yeah, happy Father's Day to all the dads for sure, and the single moms. Yep.
Yeah, I like that picture too. It's hard to get a good picture of just like a headshot. Like I don't take good pictures unless I like candid photos. I don't like to some people like get their pictures, like their whole family goes off in the woods or the cornfields and they're all wearing. I've just never been that type of person. I just like
wearing all the same clothes.
Yeah.
And Cameron Francis is alive and well. Why doesn't he advocate for their cause? It's all Dean, not a peep from Cameron unless it's a photo op. No, he's done a couple of interviews, but it was mainly his daddy. His daddy is the one that brought it out to the forefront like that. I could say what I want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep my comments to myself. I mean, I've said it a couple times, but it's like Dean's. Just picture this. It's like Dean, like his family is just such a perfect Lifetime movie. Mm-hmm. And then Cameron comes in and fucks up their reputation. And now he's out here trying to clean that mess up, trying to mop that mess up because damn that Cameron. How dare you become the black sheep of the family? White picket fence.
I feel like it's a movie.
Mm-hmm. That's how it plays in my head. I don't know if it happens to anybody else, but okay, I'm gonna play this.
Hello, this is Mac Haddo, Senior Fellow in Public Policy with the American Kratom Association, and welcome to episode 3 of the End Kratom Misinformation series, where today we're going to focus on the truth about autopsies and toxicology screens that allegedly involve kratom. As a part of this, we simply have to look at how bad science and bad reporting combine to create so-called kratom deaths when the evidence simply does not support the often convenient conclusion by a coroner or medical examiner. For years, Americans have been told over and over again this frightening story: kratom killed my family member. Sensationalized stories about so-called kratom deaths are spawned largely by the claims of grieving parents who read the word kratom in an autopsy report, many of whom have been encouraged by trial attorneys to go public to infect jury pools for personal injury cases. They seek sensationalized headlines in media stories. They testify at highly charged legislative hearings. Reporters jump at the chance for television interviews. Documentaries have been produced, and social media campaigns across the country all repeat the same distorted message about the dangers of kratom. To be clear, families who have lost loved ones deserve compassion. Their grief is real. But public policy cannot be based on grief alone. It must be based on good science and reliable evidence. And when it comes to deaths allegedly caused by kratom, the evidence often tells a far different story than those sensationalized headlines. Today, we're going to examine one of the most important questions on the entire kratom debate: how reliable are autopsies and toxicology reports when determining whether kratom actually caused a death? The answer may surprise you. The Wyatt Wheeler case is probably the best starting point for this discussion. There are other high-profile cases, and we will address them in other episodes. But the Wyatt Wheeler case is one of the most widely publicized examples of an alleged kratom-only death, and his Hollywood-connected mother, Patty Wheeler, is today working hard to become one of the most visible anti-kratom advocates in America. When I first met Patty Wheeler, she asked me to be in a documentary about her son's death, and she personally assured me that this was not an effort to ban kratom. It was only to educate and to encourage good regulations. That's an objective the American Kratom Association believes passionately in, and I readily agreed to participate in the Wyatt Wheeler documentary. This case is the shining example of why what we are led to believe to be a crystal clear case of kratom causing a death until it's not. Patty Wheeler's documentary has been screened or promoted in several states, and she's working hard to sell this film to a national streaming service that to date has not been successful. Now, this documentary is being used for the very purpose Patty Wheeler personally assured me it was not intended to be: to ban kratom. Wheeler has now forged an alliance with various anti-kratom voices, including Dean Francis, the founder of End Kratom Addiction, Wendy Chamberlain, founder of Kratom Danger Awareness, Utah State Senator Mike McKell, and Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall, all of whom are calling for outright bans on kratom. In every public appearance, Wyatt's death is presented as ironclad proof that kratom itself is deadly. The claim appears to rest largely on the conclusion reached by the coroner who led this autopsy. And all of that depends on one important and fundamental issue. Are any of these conclusions supported by the actual evidence and data? Or was this just a coroner who wanted to validate a belief of a grieving mother? An investigative report published by The Floridian, a publication based in Florida where Patty Wheeler currently lives, exposes the real truth about the death of Wyatt Wheeler. And it clearly does not appear to be from kratom overdose, as Patty Wheeler was apparently led to believe by that coroner. Check out the headline that exposes the truth about the story Patty Wheeler has been telling for the past couple of years about the death of her son Wyatt. It reads, quote, "Patty Wheeler says kratom killed her son. The autopsy tells a more complicated story," unquote. The story that follows acknowledges that Patty Wheeler's emotional plea is powerful. Her son, Robert Wyatt Wheeler, who was attending Texas Christian University, used a legal herbal supplement, suffered a seizure-like activity, and died. In numerous interviews and recent legislative appearances, Patty Wheeler has attributed his death to kratom and urged lawmakers to ban the substance. But this is where the story gets very interesting. The Wyatt Wheeler tox screen shows there were 10 different substances that were specifically quantified, and you can see each of them here on this excerpt from the tox screen itself. Each one, and certainly when viewed in combination, raised legitimate questions about the role these substances could have played in the death during the review of the cause of death. But the investigative journalists point out the one substance that became the headline, kratom, was only detected as positive, but not in sufficient amounts to even be quantifiable in the tox screen. That directly contradicts the claim Patty Wheeler makes in virtually every interview that Wyatt had consumed massive amounts of kratom immediately prior to his death. If that were true, it would have been present at a quantifiable level in the tox report. Kratom was not. And the Floridian also pointed to a finding in the autopsy that is never mentioned by Patty Wheeler or any of her supporters. Wyatt had, quote, a reported history of prior accidental overdose on fentanyl and cocaine. When we take a closer look at the background of this case, more and more questions are popping up. It is unexplainable why a coroner would list kratom as a factor in a death when it is not even a quantifiable level when tested in a toxicology screen, and that is a huge red flag. Wyatt certainly was not taking massive amounts of kratom, as Patty Wheeler has repeatedly claimed, immediately prior to his death, because if that happened, it absolutely would have been specifically quantifiable on that tox screen. In a podcast called Kratom Sobriety, Patty Wheeler was a guest on August 21st of 2024, and listen to what she says about what the coroner told her on Wyatt's death.
So this is my first day starting free printable Tai Chi walking program.
And this is me now. If you're a woman over 180 pounds.
Oh, no.
The medical examiner said that the cause of death was kratom. It was high, heavy doses of metronidazole. She said there was a trace of an antihistamine, but it was so low because it obviously was taken early in the morning, and this was in the early evening. She felt that it didn't have anything to do with his passing, and that it was, in her opinion, kratom, and that they had been seeing an increase of hospitalizations and deaths in Fort Worth. I just want to see legislation and restrictions put on kratom in a positive way. I'm not here, again, I said, I'm not here to advocate for some kind of prohibition.
Patty Wheeler specifically says the coroner told her Wyatt's death was definitely a kratom death. And the coroner reported that she had seen increases in hospitalizations and deaths due to kratom in the Fort Worth area in the several years preceding Wyatt's death. So, assuming the statement to Patty by the coroner occurred before the tox screen was completed, at a minimum, this shows that the coroner was influenced by two things. First, the report by the mother that her son had been using a significant amount of kratom for several weeks before his death. And second, the clear bias of the coroner, who affirmed the general report of kratom-implicated hospitalizations and deaths in the Fort Worth area in the couple of years preceding Wyatt's death. That's not science, particularly given the tox report. That's letting a personal bias show. Maybe the coroner was just trying to comfort a mother who wanted to blame kratom since Wyatt had allegedly started using it a few weeks before. But if that's true, then the coroner deprived Patty Wheeler of the one critical element in the grief that she was legitimately feeling for the death of her son, the truth. The Floridian then identified how that coroner's unsubstantiated claim on Wyatt's death being caused by kratom could have a far larger impact on the public policy discussion. Quote, the question is whether her son's death has been accurately described in public debates that could affect millions of consumers and an entire product category. That is especially important where policy proposals do not merely target concentrated extracts or high-potency 7-OH products, but natural kratom leaf as well, unquote. In the Kratom Sobriety podcast, Patty Wheeler made a statement that directly contradicts what she is saying today. Listen to this.
Welcome to the Sober Spill. I am incredibly grateful to have Patty Wheeler on with us today. Patty
on the sidelines. And I had said to her, you know, I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do, but what I don't want to do is just sit back and let Wyatt become another perceived overdose, because I know it was something else. And I knew from the minute it happened that it was kratom. Okay. So that's what we're asking for, is consistency, transparency, proper labeling, and informed consent. The purpose of the film, to be clear, it is not to take kratom away from anyone. It's not to create this ban on kratom. I don't want to take something from someone it's really helping them.
Sorry, I muted it before I wanted to. I paused it before I unmuted myself. I wanted to say the lady right here, this Asian lady right here, she too was in attendance at the Florida Symposium, the International Kratom Symposium in February.
Oh.
She was there as well, learning everything that we learned, you know, regarding the deaths, you know, all that stuff. She was there. I don't know if her and Kolodny were together or not, but she was sitting next to Kolodny.
That right there. I thought the same thing. I knew the minute it happened, it was kratom.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. But I wanted to throw that out there publicly, that I think her name is Michelle Wu or something like that. But she was there. So she was learning everything that we were learning. But yet she comes back and starts making all these different videos and stuff like that, you know, talking about kratom. And still, she is not saying publicly what she learned at that symposium, the same stuff we learned. It's like they're selectively, like her and Kolodny, they're selectively cherry picking, you know, and they're not even going to say everything that we learned because it goes against their narrative.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
What I want, and I feel like common sense, just common sense, should prevail. Let's do labeling. Let's do transparency about what's in it, proper labeling, and then you get informed consent. And that's it.
The documentary is not about banning kratom. It is only about regulations. That very same message was repeated in an article in Movie Maker where Joanne Robino, who is a longtime personal friend of Patty Wheeler, who works on Hollywood films, and who is the director of the Wyatt Wheeler documentary, she says the same thing. Quote, "We do not want to ban kratom. We want the industry to take responsibility for the products as they are selling to the tune of billions of dollars. We have spoken to numerous experts who all agree it may have benefits, but there needs to be much more research and reclassification of the products if they are currently calling it a food." Patty Wheeler then repeated the same message on a Mountainside podcast on February 15th of 2026, and that date is important. Patty Wheeler confirms that she is not trying to ban kratom. She only wants to regulate it. She openly acknowledges there are people who benefit from kratom use, and she does not want to take kratom away from them. Then, in a startling contradiction, just 4 days later, Patty Wheeler is hosted on the floor of the Utah State Senate by Senator Mike McKell, and she completely abandons the purpose of the documentary on her son's death that she had repeatedly stated it was. There, in what appears to be a huge change made at the encouragement of Senator McKell, Patty Wheeler is selling a completely different story.
Senator McKell.
Thank you. Personal privilege, Mr. President.
Granted.
Thank you. With me today is Patty Wheeler. I want you to welcome her today She lost her son, and I know I've invited you. You've seen an invite to attend a movie, a documentary about Kratom, and she lost her son. He was a student at TCU. He was a business student. Austin Wyatt. Sorry, I apologize. But if you could welcome her and give her a warm welcome. She flew in from Florida to be with us today. So, Mr. President, if you could welcome her, that'd be great.
Welcome to Utah. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you for helping us get through this issue, and thank you for coming in to help us. Thank you again. Great to have you in Utah.
Now, Patty Wheeler says Kratom absolutely has to be banned in the state of Utah. And she says that in one media interview after another.
Movie night for Utah lawmakers on what some insist is a deadly and serious topic.
One of the filmmakers is in town calling Kratom, sold in stores, as addictive as heroin or even morphine. Ryan Malahy with this story.
There are 3 kinds of methylene blue that you can take, and a lot of people are selling. The
Man.
first one is Indian
Are you on
curry
Advocacy
methylene blue.
in
That's
Action?
because 80%
Yeah.
of methylene blue is made in India. The second.
Yeah, I'm on that one.
Patty Wheeler says she lost a son to Kratom. She's also the executive producer of the film Kratom Side Effects May Include, and she was invited here to Utah in the middle of a Kratom debate here at the Capitol.
I had no idea what Kratom was, had never heard of it.
Then for Patty Wheeler, who arrived here from Florida today, a sudden, devastating reality.
My son Wyatt passed away from Kratom.
There's no doubt in your mind that Kratom was the cause of Wyatt's death.
100%, and the coroner.
One of Senator McKell's colleagues warned me personally about how McKell is such a media hound, he would climb to the top of Mount Everest to kiss an albino yak on the lips if he thought a news camera would be there. Senator McKell himself showed during the debate in the Utah legislature that the truth should not get in the way of the crusade to ban Kratom. Apparently, it is justified to say whatever is necessary to get a vote to ban Kratom. There's not much opportunity to attract sensationalized headlines about regulating Kratom. A lot of legislators agree with the American Kratom Association that should be done. But Senator McKell appears to have convinced Patty Wheeler that it would be a far better path to get attention to the documentary if she joined him on his anti-Kratom crusade. Senator McKell and Patty Wheeler then hosted a showing of the very documentary Wheeler had said was not about banning Kratom, only regulating it. Then on March 18th, 2026, Patty Wheeler is standing next to Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall, begging for a ban on Kratom.
Patty up here. I know this was a very emotional day for Patty. She's gone all over the country and advocated in other states about the dangers of Kratom. And it just happened she was here today while we were moving this bill, and so I wanted her to have the opportunity to give her thoughts on the bill today and the problem overall of Kratom. So welcome, Patty. Great to have you here. Yep.
Thank you, Speaker Hall. Wow, this is a very emotional day for me. I never imagined myself to be an advocate. In 2022, October, I lost my twin son, Wyatt, to Kratom, and he was with his twin brother when it happened, and my journey took me to produce a documentary, a film about Kratom. And it is not a film to evoke outrage. It was a film to request attention. We needed transparency, we needed awareness, and we needed proper labeling. Michigan today did an unbelievable thing. I have been honored to be with Utah, Virginia, Connecticut, now in Michigan, supporting such a law, a ban. This needed to happen.
Then on April 21st, 2026, Patty Wheeler joined End Kratom Addiction Now founder Dean Francis and his son Cameron, who are on their own tour claiming natural Kratom leaf products led to such a high level of addiction with Cameron, he had to be admitted to an inpatient detox facility to get clean of what he described as only natural leaf Kratom. What we do not know is how much of Dean Francis's story is wrapped in the same misinformation as Patty Wheeler has been promoting from the coroner's autopsy report. Dean Francis, on a daily basis on social media, acts like a carnival barker, claiming the end of the kratom industry and the demise of the American Kratom Association. But, like the carnival huckster selling tickets to see the man with two noses, it's all fake. I have personally invited Dean Francis on several occasions to join me in a public forum to discuss all of these issues, to discuss whether kratom is truly the dangerous substance he claims, and if it was just natural kratom leaf that led to Cameron's addictions problems. Dean Francis has flatly refused. He instead prefers to being a keyboard commando to lob his anti-kratom attacks from behind a computer screen. I've invited Cameron Francis, his son, to do the same. Cameron actually accepted the invitation at first, but he has now gone silent for the past 6 weeks. I then invited Executive Director of the End Kratom Addiction nonprofit created by Dean Francis, Hillary Teslick, to have this open forum with the moderator of her choice, and guess what? She also declined, albeit she did so by her description respectfully. I told each of them they can pick the moderator. Attendees can ask any question they like. All refused. So here is the bottom line question that I want to examine in a special episode that applies to the so-called kratom-only deaths. First, can coroners or medical examiners get it wrong on a death report, or do we have to treat their conclusions in every case as the gospel truth? Second, should legislators base legislation on autopsy reports that claim to be kratom only, or should they look behind those conclusions for the truth? And third, who are the real victims when a coroner or medical examiner makes an incorrect finding on an autopsy report? I invite you to stay tuned and continue on our journey to end kratom misinformation. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to examining these issues in future episodes.
Okay, so y'all heard that. Well, what he said earlier, Jen had to go to the bathroom, so she probably ain't gonna be able to put her thing on the screen yet. That's Cameron did reach out to Mac yesterday, so we shall see what will be coming in the future. I would love to see a debate. Love to see it. Because I don't know, it's like it seems like whenever Mac challenges anybody to a debate, they want to pussy out the opportunity. Like, what are you hiding? That's what I want to know. What y'all got plans for this weekend? What are y'all gonna do? Anybody doing any barbecues for Dad?
Barbecues for Dad?
Yeah, anybody doing some barbecues?
I don't know what we're gonna do. Probably nothing. I mean, you know, just chill. I did see. Have you seen that ice cream on TikTok that looks like a fruit?
No. Oh, no.
It's like different flavors. It's like I know they got like strawberry, and anyway, it looks like a giant strawberry, and it looks so good. Like, I don't even know how to. But anyway, somebody posted on like our local Facebook group that they found some at this store, and it was right before the live stream. So I told Paul, I was like, dude, we are going after the live stream. We're going to get that.
Okay.
But it looks just so good.
Oh, you got to work, Earl. Well, because of kratom, you work.
That's right.
You got to work, buddy.
Oh, hey, Becky.
What's up? We cooked steaks today, but I don't know about tomorrow yet.
Man, steak sounds so good. Steak sounds so good. I tell you what. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad that Mac's doing these videos because I mean, I think it's a good thing. Like this stuff needs to be kind of like mapped out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because when you hear so and so, I just like that he's
He's
backing it up.
Yeah, he's timelining it is what he's doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh.
I ain't no holla back Earl. Every time. Like
I
I've been
know.
sitting there in the back of my head. Yeah. And you should have people should have the choice, whether if they don't want to take pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Like,
Oh man, Jen, because you said that, then the 708ers would be like, well, yeah, we should have a choice. But you know what? Morphine is safer than 7-OH.
Correct. 7-OH is doo-doo garbage.
There's so many unknowns to 7-OH.
Yeah. It's like, as far, whenever people are like, oh, it should be regulated. Yeah. It needs to go back off the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to go through some more rigorous studies, because there's something wrong with a substance when people are literally paying hundreds of dollars for it because it just hooks them like that.
Yeah. Per
There's
day.
something going on. Yeah. There's something wrong with it not lasting as long over a period of time. There's something wrong with, people saying that opiates or even plain leaf don't work for them if they've been on 7-OH consistently. Like there's some issues that definitely need to be looked into. And that's just aside from the fact that it makes unknown chemical substances when it's even produced correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not even the stuff they put in it that we don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, dude.
I you know what? I will forever say this. If you take, advocate, or associate anything regarding 7-OH, you are responsible for the downfall of Kratom.
Yeah.
You selfish ass bitches. You were doing just fine with Kratom all these years. Now all of a sudden you have a cleaner product. What? The what?
Cleaner my ass. Hold
Hey,
on.
Connie.
Would you say Connie? I didn't see her other Mac. He's so quick and focused. Maybe a conversation with Mac would be more inviting. Oh, you know what? You probably, if you're watching the video we just watched, the conversation with Mac is like he usually on our recap with Max, like he'll sit down and answer questions and everything, but he had to go, so we were just playing his latest video, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, she's probably, yeah.
I can see what, yeah.
I can see where she's probably at in the stream.
Damn, he's just in here and like just.
Yeah. So once you get to this part, Connie, we already had our recap with Mac.
So have you covered this? I thought she may have asked a question, but I don't see one. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it's not raining today, so maybe we'll go get some ice cream and. Oh, never mind the ticker. I was like, oh, I need to take the ticker off. But dude, if y'all haven't checked out that website, no kidding, kratommisinformation.org, it is pretty good.
That's where they're I wonder if he put the newest episode in there. But that's where he's putting all the episodes to. I'm gonna go take a gander. Yep, he got episode 1, 2, and then the special one. And episode 3. So, yep.
When he asked people to debate him, it's scary. I guess.
I mean, probably scary
Oh, you're saying if he uses the word debate. I think that's just like in his vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I mean, technically it is a debate. I mean, if you're trying to voice your opinion and they're trying to voice their opinion and then there's a mediator. I mean, there always has to be a mediator because if there's not,
Yeah, no, it could go
then it's
sideways
just
real quick.
crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, though, that's how, because like if it was just a discussion with no mediator, think about how many times you talk over each other, or maybe things get out of hand. So I think it's just like a little bit more of a organized discussion. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I can see that.
I want to see it. Like I said, like he says, they're keyboard commandos.
I mean, they talk some massive shit.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like bad. So for them, I don't know. I think that I think every advocate's kind of fed up with it.
Yeah.
This,
I've been fed up, and like I said, I don't care. I don't give a shit. You want to call me a bully? Call me a fool. All I'm doing is telling your truth.
Hat.
I'm just telling your truth for you, and if that makes me look like a fool,
I guess you're the jester in the carnival of lies.
I do not care.
Well, I think it's true too. It's like at the end of the day, they know there's holes in their, story, and they don't want anybody to poke more holes in them.
Like I survived active addiction. You know what? I've been telling the truth for 7 years now since I've been on Kratom Consumer and an advocate. I will not lie about anything. I can't. I lied for 11 years. 11 years straight.
I don't know. Lying to me is just one of the worst things. Honestly, like I have no respect for liars. Liars are the same as like thief. I'd rather somebody just be open. Like, if somebody don't like me or something, go ahead and tell me. Like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. And if it does for 5 seconds, I'd rather that than you just lie. People that lie, you just can't trust them.
You can't.
So it's like, I don't know. A lot of those people, though, they lie about one thing. How can you believe them about everything else?
Right. Especially on social media. There's no second chances on social media.
Well, and it takes it to another notch when they go to hearings.
Yeah.
And their story changes in each hearing.
Yeah.
It's like, why is your story changed in each hearing when, I don't know.
Lies are so hard to keep up with.
Oh, that's exactly why. That's exactly why.
Okay, well, you ready to wrap this up? We've been out here for almost 2 hours. You guys, catch the replay, rewind it.
Yeah.
Have you?
All right. Well, we will see y'all next time. And I hope everybody has a good Father's Day, even if you have to work.
Yeah, even if you have to work.
Yeah. But we'll see y'all next week or before then if we find something.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.